Well, good evening. I'm George Kilpatrick. This is the United Democrats of Onondaga County, and we're pleased to be joined by Syracuse City Court Judge Ted Limpert. But you're running for a different office.
Yes.
Running for State Supreme Court, and we'll be here with you for a few minutes. And so if you have a question, if we have time, we'll get to it. Ask the question right now as we get started. So Judge Limpert, Ted, what should I call you? I know you.
George, you've known me a long time.
I know, right?
Only in court you have to call me Judge.
Oh, okay, all
How's
right.
that?
So let's talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
You a
Well,
veteran?
I was born in Syracuse, went to Van Dyne for a short period of time until I was deported to the West Genesee School District. But came back after graduating from college, raised my family here over on Bellevue Ave, and then we moved to Twin Hills. My kids all went to city schools, Roberts and Corcoran, proud graduates of there. My wife for 20 years was the library media specialist at Porter. Now she's part-time at Rosary. I was in private practice for 20 years while I was in the Guard, flying in the Air National Guard, and then became a judge in 2009 when I was appointed, and then elected in 2010 for a 10-year term.
Your kids are doing some very interesting things. Go ahead and beat your chest proud, Papa.
I could spend an hour talking about my kids. My oldest son, Teddy, was just married 2 weeks ago, and I got to perform the service, which was awesome. I mean,
Congratulations.
How often do you get to marry your own son? So that was great. He's an actor out in LA, does a lot of voice work. He's a very talented kid. He's written a lot of songs, over 100 songs.
So he's a songwriter.
He's singer, songwriter, actor. He produced my video that's on TV, my TV commercial.
Okay.
So he's doing great. We're hoping to get him back here. My wife, if we have grandchildren, would like to get him to come back, and he's talked about that. So the wedding was in Ithaca, so maybe that'll be the place. My next son is a software engineer down in Manhattan, and he just joined the Air National Guard. He's going to follow in the old man's footsteps. He's going to officer school in January and on to pilot training. My daughter, who graduated from Cornell, is with a degree in nutrition, is a farmer down in Poughkeepsie at the Vassar Farm Project, an educational farmer. It's amazing what they do.
Did she go to Vassar?
No, she went to Cornell.
Oh, Cornell.
But it's amazing what they do. They bring the kids in. They teach them all about farming and how the food is grown and the nutritional value of it. So she loves it. I don't think she expected to be there for 5 years. She just thought it was kind of a 2-year gig. So she's doing great.
Out again.
Oh no, so we're back. Okay, yeah. So I'm talking with Judge Ted Limpert. He is a candidate for State Supreme Court. And let's talk about the work you're doing on City Court. A couple of interesting things going on there.
Human trafficking. That's probably the court I'm most proud of. They asked me back in 2013 to be the presiding judge in human trafficking court. And it's a new way to look at trafficking victims and survivors, really a new kind of paradigm, if you want to say that. It started in New York City in the early 2000s. They had a lot of success with it, and Judge Lippman expanded it throughout the state. So it's more of an intervention court. Anybody charged with being involved in the sex trade now comes to our court, and we get intervention. We try to help them with drug treatment and mental health and housing and things like that.
Can you talk to me, define for people, because I think the term
Trafficking.
human trafficking, we know what it is,
right?
But I should say those of us who are in this work know what it is. But I think for
basically
some people,
anyone who is put out on the street, who's selling their body, is being trafficked by someone. I mean, it's very rare that someone is in the sex trade,
right,
and is choosing that. I mean, what happens is these traffickers are very sophisticated. They hook these women on drugs, right? Then they say, you have to pay me back, and they send them back out on the street. And that's why they have these terrible addiction problems. This is through fraud, force, and coercion. They keep them, in their grips. So we try to break that, the bond with the trafficker through the intervention, through the help that we can provide. And it's very difficult, but it's moving in the right direction. We've had a lot of successes.
So who's in court? That's the other question I have.
When we do the court, we only do trafficking court.
Okay.
When we do that, so it's just the folks that are charged with that particular crime.
The one who trafficked someone.
Well, no, these are the generally women who have been charged with prostitution.
With prostitution, okay.
Right,
Okay.
and they are really. Their history is of being. They're victims. They are survivors of this.
So you're trying to find a way to give them supportive services through
Yes,
this court?
yeah. I mean, a lot of them need drug treatment. Probably 85% need drug treatment. So we bring them in. I don't wear my robe. We sit around a table. We try to create a safe environment for them there.
And is that in lieu of sentencing?
Well, what happens is if they are successful in the program, their charges will be dismissed after 6 months.
Really? So like drug court in some ways.
Exactly. It's an intervention court.
Intervention court.
Right. So it's been going since 2013. We've had a lot of success. You know, it's not an easy area, but it's you know, we're very happy about the progress we're making. As a matter of fact, they just expanded it into a hub court. So now we'll be getting cases throughout the county, and any adjoining county that doesn't have a trafficking court, they can bring their cases in here.
You're also working on a veterans court?
Yeah, there's been a veterans court in Buffalo that has been extremely successful. And Judge Heitler decided that we need to expand the success of those veterans courts, and they've asked me to be the presiding judge in Veterans Court here in Syracuse. And I imagine it's going to be a similar type situation where it'll be a hub court. And what we want to do is bring in you know, the services from the VA and have the mentors and the services available for the veterans that, you know, perhaps are down on their luck, homeless, have PTSD, those types of things where, you know, we're kind of to try to look behind what's going on with the individual that comes before you in court.
So your background includes a stint on the city council as
Sure.
well as yeah. So you ran for mayor too.
I did. You know, I was a sacrificial lamb, I call it, but it was a great experience. 19 debates I did.
Really?
Yeah. It was awesome. I feel Dana Balter's pain.
Yeah. So there's a lot. So your experience. Why? What do you think why you qualified for state Supreme Court?
Well, I mean, I've been a judge since 2009. So I think before that, you know, I had experience in Supreme Court for 20 years. That's really where my practice was, doing civil litigation. As a judge, you know, I think I've demonstrated my even temperament, my love of the law, and my ability to, you know, juggle a lot of balls. And I think, you know, the Supreme Court is the next place where you can really have an impact on people. Don't get me wrong. I love city court. There's no court that has an impact on people like city court. I mean, it's where, you know, folks come and they may never have any contact with their government, but they may come to city court for a traffic ticket or landlord-tenant case or something.
Oh, what like traffic? No. Go ahead. That was, you know. Yeah.
I can only talk about my experience.
Right. That was just a fun little thing because we were in the moment. Right. But no. So the higher court what will you be able to do?
That's a more sophisticated civil cases, more involvement with the law, less interaction with people, which will be, you know, tougher because you really like having that interaction. But I think you know, the challenge that's there in dealing with the sophisticated legal issues is something that I want to do.
So you are a runner?
I run, you know, 3.5 miles a day, just
every day.
Every day. My knees are still there.
So, oh, good for you. Yeah. I'm not able to.
No, I'm lucky. Run through the neighborhood, works out good. Yeah.
Scuba diving,
yeah. Pilot.
Yeah. Talk about that. So you had you actually had a 9/11 mission.
Yes. So I'll just very briefly. After 9/11 happened, they put us on alert out at the air base. So about 8:30 at night, we're there watching, you know, CNN and what was going on. And all of a sudden, this alarm went off that we'd never heard before.
No, this is after the Twin Towers.
This is after the Twin Towers that evening. Mm-hmm. So it's 8:30 at night on September 11th, and an alarm goes off, and I kind of look at my wingman. I said, "What was that?" And then walked the wing commander, and he said, "Launch!" And we ran out to the airplanes, lit the afterburner, started heading westbound, and they said, "There's a target south of Rochester. Intercept them." So we went in. I did a conversion on him, and I'm trying to think as I'm doing this, how am I going to get this guy's attention? He's down at 1,000 feet doing 100 miles an hour. You know, I've got the night vision goggles on. I can see him. I said, no, so I could pump some flares out. No, he probably won't see that. I like the afterburner because it puts out like a 25-foot flame. And I came in and I went under him and pulled up in front of him. So he saw that flame and flew through my jet wash. And as I'm looking over my shoulder, they said, "Did you get his attention?" And I said, "Oh, I think so." I mean, long story short, he landed. The sheriff showed up, and it turns out it was an older flight instructor with a student. They had never turned on their TV or radio. They had no idea that 9/11 happened, that they were the only airplane other than the airplanes protecting the president that were in the air.
You believe that?
I do, because I had to testify at his enforcement action where they got him in trouble for not
right, because there was you couldn't fly on it.
Well, but the funny thing is, I mean, just back in the day, nobody checked what they call the NOTAMs, the notices to airmen, because there was never any concern. You can fly out of a uncontrolled field, and they just went, met at night and went flying, and all of a sudden, whoosh, an F-16 forced them to land. So, yeah. But that was just one of the exciting things I did over 30 years. And
you retired.
I did in 2012.
As a colonel.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You also had some missions, many missions to Asia.
Yes. So 52 missions in Desert Storm with the 174th. We went over there. And then I had the balance of that for my total of 106 over the next 6 deployments that we went on, which were mostly supporting the troops on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those guys are the real heroes, because we're in the safety of the air base.
Sure.
And those guys are out there riding on the roads, dodging the IEDs. So that was some very difficult times for them, and we were there to support them.
Yeah, I just can't imagine what that was like to be actually in combat situations.
Well, I mean, what's tough is when you're airborne and you can't, and you're trying to help these guys on the ground. And I had a situation once where we're following a convoy, and one of the Humvees hit an IED and blew up, and you just feel basically helpless. You could try to do what you can to make sure nobody else is attacking them, but it's frustrating, being up there. But now they've got the Reaper, the drone, which is really a better suited platform for that type of mission, because they can stay airborne for a long time. They fly slower. They're flying them right here. Missions from Syracuse in Afghanistan, so that it's being fed all the way back here. So that's really the best suited airplane for that type of overwatch mission. So
you're again running for the state Supreme Court judge. We're talking with Judge Ted Limpert. I don't know how much time we have left, but whatever. Oh, well, okay. I was going to say, you're running for state Supreme Court. And so, again, you're talking about your experience, why you think you should be the next
Well, I think what's important is temperament is important for a judge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to be able to listen, treat people with dignity and respect. That's very important in city court, because you get a lot of folks that come in that have never been in a courtroom before. So you have to have a lot of patience. But the Supreme Court is a place where very significant legal issues in the community are decided. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to have someone there that's going to contemplate what's going to go on, is not going to have their mind made up before they go in. They're going to listen to both sides. They're going to weigh the law and the facts, and make decisions based on the law and the facts, and not any outside influences or politics or anything like that.
Yeah, that's very important. That's very critical.
Absolutely.
Justice, I guess, how do you ensure that everybody gets fair and equal justice?
Well, all you can do is be fair to the people that come before you,
mm-hmm.
And try to treat them fairly and give them an opportunity to be heard. And I think that's what people like to have when they come to court.
Your last pitch to the voters, there it is.
Vote on November 6th. Stay on row A, and you'll hit Limpert for Supreme Court.
All right, Ted Limpert, Judge Ted Limpert, a candidate for state Supreme Court. Don't forget, vote on November the 6th.
Thanks, George.
Good luck.
Thank you.